Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with Rare Gem Productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to energize your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl Watkins-Moore with BioSTL. Hey, Christy.
How are you, dear?
You ready for that turkey day?
Yes. So we are recording right before Thanksgiving, Woo-hoo! Just when everyone's attention span is at its shortest.
Exactly.
And our desire to eat is at its highest. So we're very excited.
Anybody working?
It's actually feast or famine. So it's either like our guests are going to share with us ghost town, or everybody's acting like it's the end of the year and everything had to be done yesterday.
They're all waiting for Cyber Monday. I already know that.
Well, you know, as long as it's not Black Friday. I don't know. I just can't do it. Although I think my husband is doing the, Menards. He started going through the Menards catalog for Black Friday.
Oh, Jesus.
You know,
okay.
Whatever. To each his own, right?
Right.
There we go. So if you're listening to us, it is post-Thanksgiving. We hope you had a wonderful holiday and that you're enjoying the remainder of 2017. We are wrapping out our fifth season.
Our fifth season. Thanks to you guys.
Yes, and it's been wonderful. We've had our newest sponsor, Mueller Pro CPAs and business advisors, join us this year, in addition to BioSTL and CET. So we've been really lucky to have the support of our local community.
Yes.
And to invite new listeners to join us.
And new sponsors.
New listeners, new friends. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do so wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and you can find us at entrepreneuriallythinking.com. So who's joining us today?
Well, you guys, agriculture is a changing landscape.
Is that a pun?
Really?
Landscape and agriculture? Sorry. I just hadn't seen you in a while, so I just want to let you know.
Well, it is. I mean, I think it's funny because, the pun on words.
Landscape, agriculture, get it?
And, I don't know if our listeners know this. Monsanto is leading the way with technologies that are digitizing the farm and thereby digitizing agriculture.
So farmers with apps.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And other stuff.
I learned a lot about this from reading the Business Journal, where I read about our guest here, Jim Swanson, talking about technology and innovation that they're involved in. So guess what? Today we're speaking with Jim Swanson, who is the Chief Information Officer at Monsanto, to learn more about how he's using technology and innovation to impact and grow their business.
Yeah, so if anybody has any question at all as to whether IT and all sorts of things related to science and technology are happening in St. Louis, yes, this is the reminder that in fact, they are.
Yes. And what I like about Mr. Swanson is he's a scientist by training. Mr. Swanson.
I like
He's a scientist by training. He joined Monsanto because it allowed him to continue to pursue opportunities at the intersection of science, technology, and intellectual property innovation. As cited in Forbes, this is a guy who was cited in Forbes.
You're reading a lot of different publications. Look at you.
He's thought about the role of CIO much more strategically than most and is leading a digital revolution in the world's oldest industry. We also have Mr. Malcom Mathis, an IT business architect at Monsanto, a good friend of mine, and the president of the executive board of the St. Louis chapter of the Black Data Processors Association, or BDPA, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing diversity in IT, which is something we need.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be speaking with both Jim and Malcom to gain a greater understanding of how Monsanto is using innovative technologies and how the organization is supporting diversity in IT inside and outside the company. So as you say,
dear,
stay listening.
Now here's Make It Happen with Keith Sales Pro.
How do successful people think? According to author Tom Black of Boxcar Millionaire, here are 5 more beliefs of highly successful people. Successful people are willing to leave their comfort zones. Successful people are consummate professionals and behave accordingly. Successful people accept change as a part of life willingly and completely. And finally, Successful people make decisions quickly and then take immediate action. Today, remember, it can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Follow Keith Sales Pro on Facebook or Twitter at Keith Sales Pro, or visit his website at keithsalespro.com.
It can happen. It will happen. And together, we will make it happen.
Hello, I'm Malcom Mathis with BDPA. And to me, entrepreneurially thinking means opportunities, taking advantage of opportunities and gaps that you see to benefit society as a whole.
So, Jim and Malcom, we're really excited to have you both here. We love what you're doing and can't wait to learn more and introduce our audience to that. So, if you could start us off, tell us again, what is a CIO? Clearly, as Cheryl says, you've done a lot of thinking about this. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts? Mm-hmm. And what are you guys working on?
So, thank you. I would start with Monsanto and what we do in agriculture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are a global agriculture provider where we provide seeds for the corn, soybeans, vegetable, canola oil. We provide chemistries. Roundup would be an example of something you're probably very familiar with. And we provide digital agricultural tools that help farmers provide advisors and help them actually produce more with less input costs and less effort and increase the yield and the output. So it's a really exciting industry to be in.
I was going to say, tell our listeners, who are probably in the urban area, when you talk about digitized farming, what is that? And what is Monsanto? I mean, specifically, what is that?
Yeah, it's amazing because it's the world's oldest industry that I'd say over the last half decade to a decade is really being transformed through digital tools, data science, being able to leverage information, apply that to improve productivity at the farm. And so if you ever stepped into a John Deere combine, for example, it's kind of like
haven't, but I have a desire to.
It's a neat experience.
Gigantic.
It's kind of like stepping into the NASA space shuttle.
Wow.
Oh.
And we're actually taking information off of a combine as an example and processing that data to help farmers understand their yield, help them do what we call precision planting.
Because they are hooked up to satellites,
iPads, analytical tools that they have. One of our platforms called the Climate Platform actually helps growers looking at their harvest. They could take pictures of a plant and determine if it has a disease, does it need some type of treatment. They can look at nitrogen in the soil and determine how nitrogen to apply. We're pulling all that information in real time so that our growers as well as our research can benefit from actually improving the productivity and the yield and the output of the crops and the products that we produce.
So this is not your grandfather's farming from 100 years ago.
No, it's definitely not, and it's done at scale. And so you think about a grower in the U.S., they might have thousands of acres they're farming on. The same thing with Brazil or Argentina. We also work with small agriholders in places like India where they have less than an acre of land. We can provide digital tools there as well, so making them more profitable, making them more sustainable in how they do farming. So tremendous opportunity. And we also talk in terms of there's about 7.5 billion people on the planet today, going to 9 billion by 2050 with only so much arable land, only so much resources. So we can use digital tools to actually improve sustainability, improve usage of inputs, and maximize the output. So it really becomes full circle for our growers and the impact we want to have for the population at large.
So I know the three initiatives around bio is heal the world, feed the world, and fuel the world. And you guys are playing in all spaces through your technology, through your products that you offer. A lot of the plant technology is used now in cancer research. So you guys are touching all types of industries, which I think is very, very interesting. And I think that this whole digitized farming experience is so very different. And not just now the farmers looking to the almanac to understand when weather is going to change.
Hey, don't diss the almanac.
Now they have apps, like you said, that are on board these farming equipment that can help them understand, what the crops look like, when to harvest, when not to harvest,
and when
what's
we interviewed our guest about the food computer, the same principle holding that using pictures of plants, you can yield. Another pun. You can get a lot of information, much more than you would think you could get from a photo.
The analogy that I would use, you've heard a lot about personalized medicine.
Yes.
I would use that analogy farming, personalized farming. We could map every single grower's field down to a high fidelity and 10-meter grid segments. We understand the topology. We understand their agronomic practice. We understand what seeds and genetics are putting in the ground. We understand what chemistries will make the most sense, and then provide a prescription to that grower based on all that knowledge that we have. And I remind folks that our manufacturing supply chain, we actually grow our products. We don't just manufacture them. So we have millions of acres we actually plant on.
Wow.
In addition to what we actually see in what growers are doing, and being able to put all that knowledge together, you can really personalize that farming experience and provide the best output for them. And that's really our goal, to continue to evolve technology, data, decision science, artificial intelligence, genetics, to be able to provide that best offering to a grower.
It always reminds, my husband's an engineer, so he says if you can't grow it, you have to mine it, right? And so that's how our supply chain is being fed. Now, Malcom, I've got two things I need you to explain for me. One, what is an IT business architect?
Okay, so an IT business architect, it's a fairly new position in the IT landscape.
Good. It's not my.
So yeah, it hasn't been around. But if you're familiar with a business analyst, it kind of mixes some of the skills of a business analyst with what we used to call a functional architect. So now
break that down for me now.
So essentially, when I explain this to people,
yes, please.
I look at processes that our business currently does. And I figure out what what future state we need to operate in. And then I work with IT to provide whatever it is that we need to reach that future state. So I'm basically like a translator, if you will, between IT and the business.
And a futurist.
I was going to say, that's exactly what I was going to say. So you are working in innovation all the time.
Yes, and that's one of the things I really love about this role. I'm using human-centered design and things like that to really understand what the process is, and I'm on the cusp of innovation.
So every day you're asking the question, how might we?
How might we?
Because that is always part of the ideation process, right?
Absolutely.
See where the problems are, and then think about how might we, and so you can come to your
how might we, and why?
And why?
Why are we doing this?
Right.
Okay, and that's where the business case, I would assume, comes in, because we can ask how might we, but if there's not a really compelling business case, then why should we?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Second thing I need to clarify with you. This Black Data Processors Association, I was saying to you earlier before we started, data processor feels like a 1970s term to me. So I'm assuming it's a throwback, and you're keeping it, and you're loving it. But what does that mean? And so, because it is a throwback, how do people know whether or not this is the group they should be hanging with?
It is a throwback, and it's funny that you mentioned 1970s throwback, because Black Data Processing Association, the organization, nationally has been around since 1975.
Okay, there you go.
So your date range was great.
The right,
God bless Gen Xers, people. God bless Gen Xers. That's all I can say.
And Jim and I were actually talking about this on the way up, and we know data processing takes you back, like we talked about, hidden figures and punching cards and things like that. And it takes you back to the roots of, technology and, before this evolution. And one of the things that we've said as an organization is that we want to keep those roots. And you don't really see other organizations like AT&T, for example. They're not changing their name because Telegraph is in the name, and you just know them as AT&T.
Right.
So we take that stance for BDPA to say, it doesn't really matter what the acronym stands for as BDPA, but it is what we're trying to deliver, which is expanding the pipeline of diverse talent globally, and particularly nationally, but globally as well.
And Jim, you are, since BDPA is embedded within the Monsanto organization, how do you and your organization, how do you guys work together?
Yeah, so Malcom works in my organization, and I'm really pleased and proud that he's president of the St. Louis chapter, because we want to actually have leaders that will lead in big companies or small companies and take ownership, not just for our company, what they can do, but what can they do in the community. Diversity is a critical component of Monsanto's success, and it's ethnic diversity, gender diversity, sexual preference diversity, work experience diversity, and it's just part of our fabric. And so we spend a lot of effort trying to build those diverse groups because they add add so much value to our organization. So I'm particularly focused on our AIM, so it's our African American community, as well as our Vanguard, which is our veterans. So those are two things I sponsor as the executive in Monsanto, but our executives sponsor each one of these. And we want to do things to give back to the community, but also build this talent pool. So we'll do things in the community that we'll sponsor with other companies to build more people in IT, whether it be women, whether it be African American, whether they be Asian, whether they be other diversity segments. So it's core to our business. I'm really proud that Malcom does this, and we actually can work in this community across multiple companies to be able to raise the awareness and raise the enrollment and use that input to grow our company as well as the city and other companies that are here.
And one of the things you had mentioned, Cheryl, is that, Jim, you have a science background, but I would assume what we find often is that you don't necessarily have to have a science background to work for what might be considered a science company. Are you finding that diverse pipeline of talent comes with a diverse array of skills and expertise and talents?
Absolutely. That's why I did mention work experiences. Diversity. If you look at my IT organization, I have a whole mix of people. I have PhD geneticists. I have hardcore software engineers. I have graphic artists that do user experience. I have chemistry majors. I have engineers. I have mathematicians. I have commercial people. And that's the beauty of Monsanto. We really try to build this diverse set of talent because that collection of diverse thinking, my IT solutions are so much more powerful and impactful than if I just had only engineers or I just had only computer science professionals.
And that follows the logic with a lot of the innovation studies that shows that if you have a homogeneous population of individuals, you only reach a certain level of innovation and you plateau and you don't move forward because everybody's thinking the same.
And you just don't see the results of your bottom line. That's
where
you suffer.
And when you have this diverse pool, you can draw and from all these different experiences to reach, heights of innovation that you probably never would be able to achieve. So, and especially in IT where there is a lack of, inclusion with minority candidates, with women, we see it in the news all the time, how, there, from the IT perspective, there is a lack. So it's good to hear that Monsanto and with your organization, Jim, you're specifically looking for all of those different types of folks to engage because that's how you're able to get engaged in these innovative areas from data analytics, artificial intelligence, and I want to talk more about that when we come back.
Miller Prost, CPAs and Business Advisors, is the proud sponsor of today's Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, offering a full range of professional tax, audit, accounting, and consulting services. Learn more at millerprost.com. MUELLERPROST.com. Miller Prost, CPAs and Business Advisors, advising with vision.
Hi, I'm Jim Swanson, Chief Information Officer at Monsanto. And entrepreneurial thinking is never being satisfied and always looking to transform and continually learning.
So, Jim, when it comes to putting together those diverse teams, whether it's for AI or any of these other technologies we're going to talk about, how do you manage the creative tension that creates when it comes to having all of that energy and all of those diverse perspectives in the room?
Yeah, so I like to build an organization with healthy conflict so that you can actually get the best ideas on the table. If you have everybody that thinks the same, I guarantee you have missed huge opportunities
left money
that
on the
would
table.
prevent you from really advancing. So even around my leadership table, there is a huge amount of diversity. And again, it's everything from gender to ethnicity to work background experiences to style that really enriches the conversation. And as a result of that, everybody's got an equal stake at that table to our combined outcome. We debate heavily. We have a lot of good open dialogue. At the end of the day, we leave with a decision that we all get behind, but we encourage and I really demand that we have that open dialogue and open input. And that's not just in my IT organization, that's across the company. We are heavily matrixed with diverse people bringing to the table the best ideas. So if you go to our business leadership table, there's an IT person, there's a finance person, there's an HR professional, there is a breeder, a scientist, there is a commercial lead, a supply chain lead. It's that combination of backgrounds and skill sets that really allows our company to be highly successful and propel. And so it's in the DNA of the company. This is my 4th company I've been in, and I think Monsanto has really nailed it around the importance of diversity and how do we enrich the value of the company through that. And we really do take it very seriously.
That's great.
That's exciting. Malcolm, how long have you been with Monsanto?
So I've been with Monsanto for a little over 6 years now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And so how has that played out for you in your role and working with folks from different backgrounds with different perspectives?
Well, it's very interesting. And to Jim's point, the culture of innovation is you can just feel the vibes when you walk in the morning.
Oh, that's exciting.
And similar to Jim, I have a science background. So
I saw a head nod before. Are you one of the chemistry?
Yeah, I have a master's in chemistry.
Okay.
And I landed in IT.
Oh, wow.
See, we love that because it's also not about where you start, it's where you go and then where you finish.
Exactly.
So you're going.
Exactly. and as an analytical chemist by training, I think analytically. So I think that adds to that diverse set of skills when you come into Monsanto, and you can contribute your analytical skills to help the company grow.
So how did you make that transition? Is that something you did at Monsanto from
chemistry?
Well, actually, it was before I came into Monsanto. So I got my master's in chemistry, and then I was looking for a job. So we had just come off of the Great Recession, and at that point, I was just looking for a job.
Right.
And I didn't know the opportunities that IT had for me. I did a little programming in the lab, but my vision of IT was a computer programmer sitting at a computer programming code all day.
Right.
Yeah. So once I got into Monsanto and saw that there's a broader landscape of IT professionals than just the programming, that opened my eyes, and I fell in love ever since.
And I think that's what a lot of our listeners don't. I think what you just talked about is that most people think, oh, if I go into IT, God, I got to know how to write, different types of code. I got to be a master in Python or art. See, y'all don't think I knew that. I know a little bit of something about
We've
that.
learned a lot in the last year of this podcast.
Yeah,
we have a job opening or two.
It's good to know you got the skills.
There you go. Yeah, having a healthcare software company, it has broadened my opportunities to learn more about coding, especially when I'm talking to our coders, and I'm like, what are you saying?
I equate coding, learning to code, or at least a little bit, to like knowing cars. Like when your mechanic goes in and works on the car, you want to know what they're doing.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with coding.
But I think it's brilliant how Monsanto has taken this opportunity to look for people with unique skill sets that add to the bottom line. Because as we all know, and diversity too, when you talk about even diverse suppliers, we know there's a huge ROI for every, dollar of investment into a diverse supplier supply chain. It's $3 in ROI. That's huge. Same thing within the organization, because you get the advantages of having this diverse thought, like you talked about, Jim, that's happening, and innovation comes from all different perspectives. So, hey, I heard about this new acquisition you guys just made, or partnership, I should say, with, is it Atomwise? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, so it's an example. We do a lot in the venture community and startup community, and we have a really great team based in Silicon Valley that does a lot of scouting for us. And we look at different things that we need in our environment. I have something called a digital radar, where it's areas that we're interested in. It could be cybersecurity, it could be Internet of Things, it could be artificial intelligence, or the science group has something similar. And Atomwise was a good example of using artificial intelligence, doing modeling to look for molecules in silico, so you run it in the computer, to identify the best molecules to identify for your particular business case, and then get those in the lab, and then you can start to develop them.
So it's like on the discovery phase.
It's exactly right. So you can accelerate your time to discovery with a lot less resources, and you're actually being able to train the models over time to get smarter and smarter around the type of molecules you're looking for that are efficacious, that are safe, and that you can scale.
So machine learning.
That's machine learning. That's artificial intelligence, right? So I think it's amazing that you guys are playing in this space, because that's a whole new area, right, in the tech industry, is it?
Yeah, we're applying it in multiple spaces across the company. And so, for example, we do over 1 billion simulations of our genetics before we put a single seed in the ground. And so we're doing something similar there as we've learned a lot around our genetics and being able to apply that to what's going to perform best in certain kind of field conditions or certain kind of environments. We map our AI and our machine learning strength to business decisions. So I reported out at our last end-of-year report card, we were able to use about 350 models to apply to 99 business decisions. Everything from supply chain logistics to sustainability goals to product selection and product advancement. So you're really building this idea of decision science with really strong data and technology to improve your business, to accelerate your pipeline, to create value with your customers, to enhance your supply chain. And we've tied that to significant cost of goods reductions, net promoter score and revenue share on the customer line, improve net present value for our pipeline. So, and our sustainability goals. So real business return by making the investments. And the other fun thing we've been able to do is how do you build a digital company, employee base. So every role, whether you're a marketer, you're a breeder, you're a supply chain, you're a HR professional, has a digital acumen into their skill set, which looks at data, which looks at models, which applies that thinking to real business problems. And that together has been helping to transform the company.
I was going to say that is a transformative model because you can accelerate your business strategy, especially if you're integrating these type of models to look at even new, blue ocean opportunities. What's adjacent to your market to maybe get into or expand your business strategy based on just AI, you know.
Well, and Malcolm sold himself a little bit short. I'll give him a little more credit. He's a humble guy. So when you think about his role, he's at that intersection of understanding the business and the business process that he's enabling, but how do you transform it through data and technology?
Yes.
It's not just an incremental tweak of I can add a little automation and we can go from to 1 to 2x improvement.
Right.
How do I do a 10x improvement by disrupting that process? Now I got technology and data that totally transforms the way that process works. It's a critical role in our organization. It's able to bridge in business terms and technology terms to help our business partners think differently through technology and data, which is not a lens they normally look at.
Absolutely.
They're deep in the science or deep in marketing or deep in commercial or deep in finance. How do you transform those roles through data and technology? And that's the exciting transformation we're able to enable.
And it sounds like you're using digital acumen as a way of referring to what we might call an entrepreneurial mindset, that even though the goal isn't to necessarily go off and create your own thing within your own business unit, whether it's Malcolm or some other member of your team, you're really pushing them to think about how can you disrupt? How can you change? And it's everybody's job then. It's not just the special unit over here doing R&D.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we actually use the term digital native. So we want digital native employees that have this good base of understanding because their world's changing. It's evolving. And we can't lose their knowledge because they have so much knowledge. How do we enhance that? How do we enable it in a much more effective way through technology, through data, through decision science and other things? And how do we make it seamless? So it's not a model sitting off in a corner you don't use. It's embedded into your workflow. It's embedded into your applications, embedded into your processes. And you're now leveraging those really amazing capabilities to transform that interaction.
And that's how you become a true competitor in the industry because you're constantly innovating.
And in addition to Silicon Valley, you also have a lot of work going on here in St. Louis that would be considered entrepreneurial or innovative, whatever umbrella you wanted to put that under.
Yeah, we're actually really pleased with the amount of technology that's in St. Louis, the amount of entrepreneurship. The startup community here is really, really strong. We invest in some of those areas.
I was going to say, you guys have made acquisitions of some of our startups.
We have. And we want to support that in a high degree because, one, we belong to this community. We want to help to grow it. Two, there's really amazing opportunities here. And we see the startup community really growing and advancing. And so we want to enable that, plus what we're doing in Silicon Valley and other places. It's also exciting for my own organization to work in places like Cortex. We've done that for a period of time and co-collaborate with entrepreneurs and get that entrepreneurial mindset into a large multinational company, which is sometimes hard to do. But you infuse that entrepreneurial mindset into big problems, and it's amazing the transformation you can have in your company and in your community.
I was going to say, I think that's where, since Christy and I, we work with a lot of startups here in the community. community. And one of the big issues that most startups have, especially when they have a new technology, is getting a corporate partnership or getting their product to be used by a corporate partner just to pilot it or whatever. Yeah. So it's helpful. I think that's where companies can language, and that's where they go into this whole valley of death. I was going to say Death Valley.
Either way you want to look at it, death is involved.
Right. But I think if you guys are active in the community and looking for new innovations, new technologies, that's a testament to our community here.
Yeah, we actually put resource behind it. So not only do we have a really great venture group led by a person named John Hammer and his team, I have a small group we call the Digital Outreach Group that works with startups to identify new opportunities. And we're really proud of how many startups we talk to. We talk to about 250 startups a year. We do about 30 proof of concepts a year, and we adopt on average around 5 technologies a year.
That's amazing. Now, is that nationally, internationally, or just here?
That's holistically. That includes the West Coast, what we do in St. Louis and other places we may do it. But we do measure that because we want to make sure we're constantly infusing new ideas into our environment. And some of it may or may not be ready to scale, but we can at least get that learning. And even if the POC doesn't progress, we've learned a tremendous amount about how to think differently. So it
and
forces
you've given the
us to
startups a lot of great feedback that they normally would not have achieved. So everybody out there listening, if you guys have some type of technology and you're playing in this space, you should be turning your freaking
you should
turn the speaker
rewind in digital terms.
Exactly. Because here's a great opportunity, and a company that's out there that's actively looking for new innovation.
So much of that comes from relationships. Jim, you had mentioned that there's different, I would call them affinity groups within the organization that's to help promote the diversity from within. And Malcom, you're directly involved, and I need to look at the acronym so I get it right, but BDPA. So how does that synergy work? So if you have somebody who says, hey, I'm part of the Black Data Processors Association, and I'm trying to get better plugged into not only what Monsanto's doing, but what's going on in this space nationally. How does that work?
So one of the things is becoming a BDPA member. I mean,
and again, who would do that? Because again, that throwback term, I love it. Yeah. AT&T's not changing their name. We don't need to change ours.
And do I have to work at Monsanto in order to become a BDPA member?
No, you don't. No, you don't. Actually, BDPA membership is open to everyone, whether you're Black, man, male, female. But
you got to have a little data process. Maybe they'll let you in with your Python knowledge.
Python is you get an uptick for Python.
Okay. All right. I can't even fake it. And I can usually fake it. And I can't even fake it.
And just because you can pronounce Python.
All right. Oh, man. I'll let you in. I believe their bar is higher than that. I believe the bar is higher.
But really, BDPA is about those that are in technology or even have an affinity or are interested in technology. We're really here to serve the digital divide. And if you're unfamiliar with that, you know that there are the haves and have-nots in technology. And we're really here to support that group that are the have-nots and the underrepresented, to provide them with the skills that they need and the tools that they need, along with the ecosystem and the environment that they need to be successful and to propel their career from the classroom to the boardroom.
Because as we all know, technology is everywhere. You cannot get into an industry.
You mean it's not just sort of a separate thing that we can play?
It's not a separate thing. And for anybody who still thinks, I could do my job without having to, integrate any type of technology in it, you're retiring then. That's what's called your retirement. Okay.
But so to that end, what kind of programs do you guys do? So what does that look like? If I'm technology curious and I join the organization, what are you going to do to help me?
So we have a number of programs. I know one that Dr. Cheryl was actually a facilitator for one of our programs.
I love that too. My mother's so happy.
Amen.
Every year we have our annual night with the CIO. So we had a panel discussion, and Dr. Cheryl was a facilitator, the moderator of the panel. We had the CIO from Ameren, so Mary Hager, and then Lena Young from Peabody. They participated in the panel. It was a great panel discussion. But those are some of the things that we do. We really want to keep our members abreast on the trendings in technology, whether it's artificial intelligence, whatever the case may be. blockchain, all of those things that are coming up and bubbling.
We didn't even talk about blockchain.
Yeah, we haven't even touched that, but we want to make sure our members are part of that. So we have programs and events throughout the year to engage our members and help them advance professionally.
That's exciting. Now, I think I also noticed on both of you that Field Drive, is that a Monsanto thing?
Yes, it is. It's part of our Internet of Things platform.
Oh, okay. Talk to us a little bit more about
IoT.
So they got a little swag on. So you know, we got a little
we had to represent
jacket and pullover action going on.
There we go.
I figured there might be something here. So what are you doing in the IoT space?
So we're doing a lot of phenomenal things in the IoT space today. Like Jim mentioned, when you get into a tractor today,
yes,
it's like
clearly we have to go find a combine.
Clearly we got to go find a freaking tractor.
And what? Illinois and Indiana are right there. We can't find a combine, then we're not looking hard enough. I know Missouri has some too.
Oh yeah.
Come on now.
Now, not only will the tractor drive itself, GPS aided.
What?
Yeah, with hands free.
The farmer's busy doing other digital stuff now. He needs it to drive itself.
I didn't know. Oh my God! So you can let the tractor go wild out there in the field, right?
Yes, based
wild,
on
relatively speaking.
So the farmer's doing what? Chilling?
Well, he could be on his iPad, but you need
measuring soil level.
No, the tractor's doing that.
Wow, let the man speak.
So yeah, I mean we have that, but then in terms of IoT, a lot of the data that's coming from the farm, whether we're combining and harvesting, going through harvesting, that data is being fed to the cloud. And we're able to process that data real time, understand, and make decisions on that data right there at the point of contact.
Make a decision. That's what he's doing.
So wait a minute, Monsanto can impact that farmer on his whatever tractor, combine, whatever, real time.
Yes.
That's amazing. That goes back to the whole personalized medicine and being able to write that prescription and do what they need to do right there. They don't have to. There's no gap in anything. That's amazing.
Yep.
So, are your competitors leveraging or doing that kind of thing? I mean, is this where the ag industry is going? Are you guys leading the way? Right.
Yeah, I would say we're leading the way in this space. We're really at the forefront of technology, and like Jim said, we're embracing it, and we're seeing how we can leverage the technology to improve not only our farmers, but then also our bottom line as well, because we are a business. So as we provide advantages for the farmer, we also impact our bottom line. So that's that competitive advantage.
So Jim, talk to me about, we've talked a lot. I mean, IoT, we've talked about a lot of things. What does the future of this industry look like, and how do you see, what is Monsanto's role?
So I didn't answer your first question around being a CIO, and I'll answer your question as well. There's no better time to be in IT. I'm absolutely convinced that no matter what industry that you're in, it's every industry being transformed. So if you look ahead, if you just apply Moore's law as an example, with the doubling of computing capabilities roughly every 2 years, and you move from a linear growth to an exponential growth or logarithmic growth around take-up of technology, how fast you can process, the miniaturization of work, of compute. It's amazing what you can do. So what we've started to even look at, we've gone from days to process a model to minutes because of emerging technology. And you think about how quickly you can now respond to events because you've gone from days to minutes. You think about the compute power that's in your iPhone today that even 5-10 years ago was nowhere near that capacity capability. And you think about platforms being created that allows you to advance technology and make it ubiquitous. Things like analytics at the edge. So you have all these sensors that are occurring. You're doing more analytics at the edge, and you're sending subsets of data back versus all that data back at the same time. And then you think about connecting your environment, connecting your supply chain end to end, from grower to distributor to grain handler all the way downstream. And that's where blockchain and others could really have a big impact. Or how you advance R&D in the pipeline, taking years off of your pipeline discovery process. Huge value for our customers. And then you think about how you interact with customers in a different way, teaching them how they can leverage these digital tools to advance their productivity. There's so many opportunities that are unfolding. Technology is evolving so rapidly. The challenge for all of us is how do you keep pace with that technology and apply it and not get stuck into, well, I just learned this. I'm going to spend the next 5 years on this item when the next thing's coming. So constantly thinking about that evolution and being able to scale it is both a challenge and an opportunity. And for me, from a personal level, I spent most of my career in the pharmaceutical world. the last 4 years here with Monsanto. And it's been amazing to see this industry being transformed through technology and data. And we've done a ton of work and new value, but I think we're really at just the beginning of it.
That's amazing.
And it's still going to expand even faster.
It's really exciting. And it also sounds like not only do I need to stay current on the technological trends, but that critical thinking piece, being able to bring the worldview and the ability to think the way the processes are being done. Now it's what do you do with the data that's been processed? What do you do with the new learnings? What do you do with the new
connections? A good example of that, you can use this in the medical field or in the agricultural field. If you take a grower, on average, they have about 40 years of experience, assuming as a child their parents were farmers. They have that experience. They become farmers, and then their children's children become farmers. And you got about 40 years of actually working a farm. You think about what decision science and AI can do. It can do 400 years of experience for that grower, because there's a lot of fields that may look similar to them. There's a lot of agronomic practices you can apply. There is a lot of knowledge that happens in the computer that we can now deliver to them in a personalized way. All of a sudden, you've expanded their capability far greater than they could just over a regular lifetime.
And I think your customers, the farmers, I was going to ask, do they have the pushback to all of this technology and the changing, but it impacts them from a financial standpoint, because you're increasing their yield, which increases their profit.
And they're scientists like physicians or scientists. They don't believe what you have to say. They want to see it on their farm. They want to apply it in their environment. They do strip tests and say, well, is what they're saying accurate? If it is accurate, okay, I'll do a little bit more. And they're constantly evaluating and assessing. So it's how they think already. And if you can provide good tools that actually show that value, they will adopt it. If they don't show the value, they'll be the first to tell you got it wrong. But they'll do it in a way that will say, how do I now make it better?
And I love when you're driving down the roads and you see all these fields, and you see something in the field like sponsored by, or by some company.
Well, keeping track of whose stuff is in the
doing
ground.
stuff, right? But they're testing and they're piloting and they're seeing like
it's happening
positions
all around us.
Absolutely. So wow.
So if we want to stay competitive, we have to stay ahead of these curves. Where can people find out more about what you're doing and how to get connected to all the things you shared with us today, Jim?
Yeah, so there's a couple of sites that are available. For example, discover.monsanto.com is a good example, learning more about agriculture and what we're doing in that space. We do contribute a lot to open source. So if you're an engineer, we do use GitHub, and I ask my engineers to contribute to open source.
Great.
We do leverage it a lot. There's two reasons for that. One, we want to make the community of open source software better so we can all consume it. Two, it's a tremendous talent opportunity where you get a really good engineer, they have 10 really good friends. And so it's amazing the kind of talent you could pull in through just communicating to an open source environment. So look for that if you're an engineer, you want to know more. We also contribute with local groups here like Launch Code that are non-traditional IT backgrounds that we want to help co-develop to become IT professionals. We're all going to win when we build that community. So there are plenty of places that Monsanto is present. BDPA is another great example that we contribute to very heavily, and we're very committed to. So very proud to be part of Monsanto, very proud, although I'm not from St. Louis originally, from the East Coast.
Ooh.
I've adopted this town, and I'm really pleased with the talent that's
None
here,
of us
but
are
how we got to grow it.
You're from Malcom.
Okay, so Malcom, represent as the local.
I am from.
You are representing.
I'm an East Coast girl too, who's
I'm a Chicago girl,
really proud to call St. Louis her home.
Yes.
How do folks find out more about BDPA?
So BDPA, you can go to our website, bdpa.org.
B as in boy.
B as in boy, D as in dog, P as in Pam, A as in apple.
Wonderful.
And we also are on Facebook, so you can visit our BDPA Facebook page. And there are a number of ways to get involved. Reach out to me. We'll be here in St. Louis, particularly if you're in St. Louis, or any of the major cities. Reach out to the chapters there.
And they do a fantastic job. Thank you, guys. You have been wonderful educating our listeners.
Spend time with you.
Yes,
well, thank you.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship, It's entrepreneurially thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneuriallythinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Jim Productions. Thanks for listening.